Very welcome back. Now, yesterday's budget saw a €2 billion social protection package, a cost of living package worth €2.2 billion, and a double payments of the child benefit in the run-up to Christmas.
Indeed, Minister for Children and Green Party leader Roderic O'Gorman is here with us. Good morning, Minister.
Morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad
but
to be here.
Before we speak to you, let's take a look. I'm sure you've heard this already. Let's take a look at what Pierce Doherty, the Sinn Féin spokesperson on finance, had to say about this government's budget.
This government has been exposed over and over again as serial wasters. You treat the public with contempt when you waste taxpayers' money on every project, big or small. From a bike shed to the National Children's Hospital, to a security hut, to modular units from Ukrainians that are costing more than semi-Ds.
Minister, that was thrown at you yesterday a huge amount of times by Pierce Doherty about being serial wasters. He commented on so many projects that have been in the news recently. But let's talk about this budget. And when it comes to means testing, the amount of things that you are giving out, one-off payments, all these things, why aren't you doing more means testing so that these could be longer-term solutions to the almost 250,000 children who are living in deprivation in this country?
So in this year's budget, we've, I think, a really good mix of universal supports, but we've some really important targeted supports as well, tackling those issues like child poverty that you specify there. So I think about what's happening in my own department. Over the last 2 years, we've done universal stuff to make childcare more affordable for all parents, because we know it was and continues to be too expensive. So we've made really important steps there. We also introduced Equal Start, which is a new DESH model targeted at children living in the most disadvantaged areas to make sure they can get the best early years experience possible. I started that last year, and in this year's budget, announced yesterday, we're going to expand that next year and provide meals for children in in Equal Start services. 32,000 children will benefit from those. In my department...
On the meals for that, free school meals. Brilliant initiative to have brought in. It was a lot of noise was made in the UK over this. You know, it was a big celebrity thing. Not everybody in this country needs a free school meal. There's a huge amount of teachers and principals that are pointing that there's going to be a huge amount of food waste, and that this money is going to be, it's literally going to be thrown out. Why isn't that means tested properly for people rather than going everyone gets it? Because
I think we know in the past where you had the state supporting meals and some children got them, some didn't, and some had a green docket and some had a blue docket in terms of the division that creates in the classroom, and children see that, the kids who are getting one set of meals and some are getting the other. I think it's important that we provide that basic level of support. But can we fix that a little bit rather than throwing millions away on it? Well, I don't think our investment in school meals, whether it's at primary level or the new programme that I'll be bringing out through my department to early years, I don't think that's a waste of money. I think that's a really important support to kids in terms of nutrition, in terms of making sure they can concentrate during the day because they aren't hungry. And I think our organisations like the Children's Rights Alliance recognise the importance. It is important that we have some universal supports that all children in our country are able to benefit for. And the budget yesterday, it has taken universal measures, the baby boost payments that I argued for. We all know that when a new child is born, it is a really expensive time in the lives of every single parent. A new steriliser, a new cot, and we're making a payment there to support that.
It's extremely expensive. I know only too well the expense of it, but certain people, and myself included, like, we don't need these boosts, where there are a huge amount of families that do need the money. And there's 1 in 5 families now living in poverty. We are seeing record homelessness figures at the minute, with over 4,400 children living in emergency accommodation. Do you think that giving them the same amount as you're giving to so many other people who don't need that money is fair?
But we're not, with respect, Sam, we're not giving them the same amount. Look at the targeted payments we brought in yesterday, the increase to the working family payment.
But poverty for children, if you address that and brought extra money to those children that need it, will bring them up, it will rise them up.
And we did that in yesterday's budget.
Not to the level that so many people are asking for.
The increase to the working family payment, the increase to the additional child supplement, all of these things are really important steps towards targeting.
We were just speaking to families over here. It's not enough.
every budget we have looked to bring in that mix. Some universal supports, recognising that every parent in our country needs additional support, and then a range of targeted measures. In this year's budget in particular, I think the targeted measures done by Minister Humphreys in the Department of Social Protection, by myself in my own department, increasing Equal Start, new family resource centres around the country, new youth services around the country in targeted areas, in areas of high disadvantage. All of these are explicitly targeted measures. I'm bringing in a measure now next year for holiday hunger for young people who are outside of school to support them with additional meals through youth services. These are explicitly targeted measures. Now, they don't always get the headlines on budget day.
Well, they don't. An awful lot of things aren't getting the headlines because there are an awful lot of people who are like, oh, there should be more means tested. You know, you're giving away €9 million to bring in magnetic pouches to stop kids using their mobile phones. But the capitation grant for things like heating and lighting is only €10 million. Is that not a gimmick?
And we've seen very significant investments in education. We're going to see 1,600 new SMAs.
Why are we spending €9 million on a mobile phone pouch, a magnetic pouch that parents could pay for themselves to stop kids on their mobile phones?
Well, look, I think
it's a gimmick.
I think it's generally recognised that trying to remove the distraction of mobile phones across our primary schools.
But is that not just parenting and teachers going, get off your mobile phone? It's not €9 million, and you could give that to heating a school instead.
I think if we can find somewhere safe where those mobile phones can be stored during the day, it takes it out of the kids' mind. It doesn't. The teachers don't have to be worried about it as well. But you look at the substantive increases in SNAs, in special ed teachers, an extra 700, so necessary, and I know that in my own constituency in Dublin West as well. But those are the sort of long-term investments that this budget is delivering.
768 more special education teachers.
1,600 more SNAs. Really important long-term investments. Recognising
you're hoping
those
to
supports.
get those.
Yeah.
That's what we've budgeted for next year.
But I mean, where are you going to get them from?
Well, Minister Foley has real success in terms of hiring SNAs over the last number of years.
We're massively short on teachers and SNAs.
They're leaving
we
the
asked her
country.
last year 3 times, where are you going to get them from? Where are we going to find the guards? It's great to have the money. Where are you going to get them from?
Well, look, there are labour shortage pressures across the economy, absolutely. One of the things I've worked for in my department this year is increased.
You're pulling that number out, but you can't fulfil it.
Well, we've been able to deliver substantial extra numbers of teachers, of SNAs over each year of this
but we're losing them hand over fist.
Office.
There are schools all over the country who are having to drop subjects because they can't find the teachers.
There are pressures in particular subjects. There's particularly in some of the technical subjects. But again, the measures we're taking to make sure we can secure staff. For example, in my own department in early years, we've put aside a particular allocation to improve pay for early years professionals in 2025.
Let's talk about that, because as Minister of Children, your childcare budget, you have doubled it. You've got more people in the National Childhood Scheme. Fair play to that. Yeah. But groups like Early Childhood Ireland and the National Women's Council, who are obviously very fixated on this, they are disappointed at the lack of real investment. And what they're saying is actually reform in childcare, in managing to get people to work within the industry and stay within the industry. So what's the plan? Because it's a crisis. People cannot get their children into childcare and people aren't staying within the industry.
Well, I've doubled investment in childcare in the last 4 years. And the number of children getting the NCS, that's the subsidy we've spoken about here a number of times. Yeah. When I started, it was 45,000 children were benefiting from that. Next year, it's going to be 216,000. So I think we have to understand the number of children and parents who are now getting lower cost childcare because of the steps we've taken.
I have a member of my family looking for childcare. Yeah. She's due at the start of next year. They've been told 2027.
And
because their kid in.
Because we've made childcare more affordable, there is pressure on capacity. That's the new challenge that we're facing. So what we're doing is next year, services will be able to seek it from in the next few weeks, €25 million capital grant to allow services, public or private, to expand. We're looking to recruit and retain staff. I brought in the first 2 pay agreements ever for childcare staff and back them up with state money.
But the recruitment minister means, and this is what's happened with nursing and with childcare, is that people that are qualified here who've come through the school system, they're leaving. They're leaving this country, and we're going out and recruiting.
Yeah, and the primary reason is pay.
From other countries.
And the primary reason is pay, and that's why in the budget announced yesterday, I've put aside a specific allocation for pay to ensure that we can get a new pay deal for childcare professionals next year, so we can continue to improve recruitment and improve retention.
But the owners of those places are saying they can't afford the increased pay along with
But that's why the state
costs.
is stepping up with that pay, because we recognise childcare providers face a range of cost pressures.
You're throwing money at that problem, which is fantastic.
With respect now, throwing money just isn't...
Well, throwing money, but how effective is it going to be? Because listen, you are Minister for Integration. I have to ask about this.
Of investing in early years, and we're looking to increase their pay.
We all know about the money and the investing, which is fantastic to see, but where is it going? Where are the numbers? Because I know for a lot of people who are out there, they are not seeing and feeling like they're reaping the dividends. You are Minister for Integration. You are in charge of the modular homes being brought in for Ukrainian refugees. They have gone up by 120%.
200, oh yeah. Sorry.
We are talking about bang for a buck in this country. We're wondering, should we be trusting the government with our money? 440,000 euro for a modular home. There was bang for your buck?
There was a significant overspend on that programme.
Significant? 120%?
Yeah, absolutely. And look,
I mean,
when
a modular home is costing more than a 3-bedroom house.
So, absolutely significant overspend. And look, overspends like that, it does undermine people's confidence in terms of the state's ability to deliver programmes.
Just a bit.
I think it's worth putting just some context on it. That was a pilot programme. It was brought in as an emergency response to the needs of tens of thousands of Ukrainians arriving in our country. We made a decision that the sites we used for modular accommodation wouldn't be sites that were identified for social housing, under Housing for All.
It doesn't matter. Every house is built on something. You have to make the excavation. You have to do it. These are modular homes. They're not even proper.
Exactly. Well, there's homes that will last for 60 years. They are really good units of accommodation.
It will last.
But the sites that were allocated to the department from the Department of Housing were difficult sites, because they had been sites that had been excluded for use for Housing for All. The primary driver of the additional costs was the site costs. I'm not making excuses for that, but I just think the context of that has to be understood. But 2,300 people are now accommodated in those units around the country. Those units will last for 60 years.
How much is that costing then?
Well, it's costing a lot less than the cost of hotel accommodation for those Ukrainians. I think it just has to be understood in that wider context.
Minister, you're going to be knocking on doors very soon.
I'm always knocking on doors now.
Okay.
Always trying to get out to the constituency.
But what are the big three? Everyone must have been talking about the dates yesterday after the budget was announced.
There was some speculation, yeah, absolutely, and I'm speculating as well. There's only one person who knows what that date is.
It's going to be November, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be the Taoiseach.
What would you like?
We made a decision within, I suppose, among the three leaders that we wanted to get the budget out of the way.
Yeah.
I think that was the right thing. That was the priority. So I imagine in the next week or two, myself and the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach will have a discussion about the date. I think ultimately it's a matter for the Taoiseach. Obviously, we want to see the finance bill.
Feel confident the Greens will be part of the next coalition?
I feel confident the Greens will have a good election, and that'll put us in a position to negotiate a strong programme for government. We've always said us being in government is about whether we have a good programme for government. We negotiated a good one in 2020. We've delivered really strongly on that over the last 4 years. We'd love another opportunity. That'll be over to the people.
Well, hopefully we'll get to say this to you once again. The longest name ever. Minister for Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth of Ireland, Roderic O'Gorman. Thanks you so much for joining us. Thanks a million.